We were so grieved to hear the sad news of Leonard's tragic death. I heard how brilliantly he'd been flying and what wonderful things he'd done, and was living in hope that he would come through this horrible business safely.
I noticed 5 ME-109s above and to my right. He burst into flames and disappeared into the cloud in a vertical dive.
On the 16th of May 1941, a letter was sent to the home of Bertha and Archibald Haines.
Bertha, my dear, this sad news has filled my heart with grief. What a blow for you and Arch, to lose such a lovely, brave boy. Only the other day I was thrilled telling my friends how he won the DFC. I hope God will give you and Arch strength to bear this awful blow, and if, later on, when you feel better, you would like to write to me, telling me all the brave things Len did, I shall be pleased and very interested. With my love to you all, Joan.
Born to Bertha and Archibald in December 1919, the son Len, having joined the Royal Air Force pre-war, proved himself time and time again, once hostilities began, amidst the intensity of air combat. During 1940, Leonard Haines shot down numerous enemy aircraft, displaying great courage and airmanship. He is remembered as a decorated Battle of Britain ace and a leader, and a man whose story ends not in combat, but in tragedy. Today, using combat reports and personal letters, we remember all the brave things Len did, and his tragic loss. Leonard Haines' first combat claim came in the skies above the chaos of Dunkirk. It was the 1st of June 1940. The British Expeditionary Force was being evacuated from the beaches of France. Above them, the Luftwaffe menaced. In the early hours of the morning, Leonard was airborne in a Supermarine Spitfire. His combat report records.
I was flying with 19 Squadron on patrol over the Dunkirk area. On sighting the enemy, I delivered a deflection attack to within 20 yards. The enemy aircraft dived vertically into the ground, with glycol streaming from it.
To within 20 yards. Close enough to see the pilot in the opposing cockpit. Leonard claimed a Messerschmitt Bf 109 destroyed, and later that morning he closed in on a Heinkel bomber.
Opening fire at 200 yards range, the port engine burst into flames, almost directly, and I followed through, closing to within 50 yards, meeting with no fire whatsoever, and finishing up dead astern. The enemy aircraft continued gliding steeply towards the sea, with engine blazing fiercely.
Leonard claimed a probable. Crucially, he was gaining all-important combat experience, and more importantly, for what was to come, he was surviving. On the 18th of June 1940, Winston Churchill announced to the House of Commons that the Battle of France was over and that he expected the Battle of Britain was about to begin. Key to the defence of Britain was opposing the Luftwaffe. The Royal Air Force simply must not lose control of the skies. It is clear in Leonard Haines' correspondence that he was keen to engage the enemy. On the 21st of June, he writes to his sister Peggy,
"Afraid I didn't get a crack at the Hun the other night."
but he had seen a fellow pilot shoot an enemy aircraft down in flames, and another colleague
Also managed to bag one. I had quite an exciting time, really, bombs dropping all over the shop, you know. Unfortunately, they must have known I took off, because they all turned tail and the sky was empty in no time at all. I experienced my biggest shock when I returned to the mess in the morning and found a German in my room. Apparently, he was the pilot of the Flamer and had jumped for it. He seems quite a decent fellow, actually, and apologized profusely for having slept in my bed.
Leonard was also exasperated with what he called the promotion business, writing,
Two of the R people in another squadron here had just gone up to flying officer because they'd been flying tutors for 3 years on reserve.
but he didn't have to wait long. Early in July, he informed his parents and Peggy,
You'll be very pleased to hear I've my wider stripe at last.
but the newly promoted flying officer was still frustrated.
Only wish the German Air Force would show itself so that we can get cracking and win the war sooner. Now, must dash to bed as I get up at 3:30 these mornings.
Fighter Command was poised, ready, awaiting the Luftwaffe onslaught. Leonard's letters are addressed from RAF Duxford. On the 11th of August, Len told Peggy,
You'll be pleased to hear I've been entrusted with a section of aircraft and now lead 3 aircraft about the sky.
but the main air battle at this stage was happening further south.
It's been a lovely day and I've done 4 patrols, but haven't seen anything worse luck.
All this changed for Leonard on the evening of 19th of August. His combat report records.
I was leading Green section and was given a vector sending me to Aldborough, when Green 3 reported that there was an enemy aircraft ahead of us approximately 1,000 feet higher. I recognised the aircraft as being an ME-110 and ordered line astern.
The Messerschmitt Bf-110, a twin-engine heavy fighter, well armed and dangerous, but vulnerable to the Spitfire in the hands of a skilled pilot. Leonard closed in.
I made an attack from dead astern at 350 yards and closing to 150 yards. I noticed a piece of mainplane shot away and the port engine stopped dead. I then saw another machine, confirmed to be Green 3 attacking, and after he had broken away, the enemy aircraft slowly burst into flames and crashed into the sea.
Leonard's wishes are coming true. He is now firmly in the thick of it, day after day, sortie after sortie, and the scale of the battle is increasing. He submits a claim of an ME-110 on the 3rd of September.
I let it have the rest of my ammunition from 100 yards dead astern, and I noticed a piece of fabric fly off, and the enemy aircraft plunged into the sea.
2 days later, Leonard finds himself under attack from 2 ME-109s.
I did a steep turn, and as they dived past me, I opened up my engine and chased the second one. I waited until I was at 200 yards range and opened fire. After a 5-second burst, the enemy aircraft's engine began issuing puffs of smoke, and the pilot began hedge-hopping. I kept in range and let him have the rest of my ammunition when I noticed a burst of flame from the engine, and it issued a continuous stream of black smoke. He was then over the fields and approaching Ashford. On reaching more or less the centre of the town, he climbed his aircraft at 800 feet and bailed out. The enemy aircraft crashed in flames in the garden of a house, and the pilots landed safely in a field.
Then, it seems, Leonard has a few days off. There are no flights recorded in his logbook for the 8th, 9th and 10th of September. On the 11th, he writes home that he is yet to have a crack at the Boche since arriving back at the squadron.
But, as it looks quite a promising day, there's a chance he might send a party over.
Leonard also mentions that another pilot has shot down 2 ME-109s.
Bringing his total up to 7 certs. He's on leave today, so I hope I'll get the chance to equalise.
That evening, he gets the chance, stating in his combat report,
I closed to 200 yards and opened fire. The enemy aircraft's starboard engine burst into flames, and it broke formation. I followed it, and gave it a long burst when the port engine caught fire, and lots of pieces came away from the fuselage and port mainplane. I'd observed no rear fire, but was continually having to evade attacks by ME-109s, which were painted yellow from spin to cockpit, which dived on me from above. My aircraft crashed on landing, as both tyres had been punctured by bullets.
At this stage of the Battle of Britain, the Luftwaffe's tactics are changing. They target London, mass raids, hundreds of aircraft, and the RAF rises to meet them. Then comes a defining moment in the battle, 15th of September 1940, Battle of Britain Day. Late that morning, British radar picks up a considerable enemy attack developing, and Fighter Command squadrons prepare to meet the assault. Number 11 Group meet the attackers over Kent and the south of London, before Number 12 Group's Duxford Wing, including Number 19 Squadron Spitfires, tangle with the enemy formations over London itself. The squadron diary captures it simply, stating that they waded straight into party over London area, approximately 250 to 300 enemy aircraft, all types. Numerous pilots make claims, including Flying Officer Leonard Haines.
2 ME-109s appeared to my right. I accordingly turned and attacked them. I gave one a burst, deflection from above, and it half rolled and dived vertically to 12,000 feet where it straightened out. I had dived after it, and as soon as it finished its dive, I recommenced my attack. I was going faster than the enemy aircraft, and I continued firing until I had to pull away to the right to avoid collision. The enemy aircraft half rolled and dived vertically with black smoke coming from underneath the pilot's seat, it seemed. I followed it down until it entered cloud at about 6,000 feet, and I had to recover from the dive, as the enemy aircraft was then going at approximately 480 miles per hour. I then made my way through the cloud at a reasonable speed and found the wreckage of the enemy aircraft, burning furiously.
Just a few hours later, Fighter Command is warned by radar that another vast armada of Luftwaffe bombers and fighters is approaching, heading for London. Once more, the pilots of the Royal Air Force meet their opponent. Once more, the Duxford Wings pilots tear into the enemy. The 19th Squadron ORB records, "Another party along with Wing. When we arrived, the formation had already been broken up by 11 Group." Again, numerous claims are made, and once more Leonard Haines is in the midst of the fighting.
I noticed 5 Me-109s above and to my right, so I accordingly climbed to attack. On reaching the same height, the enemy aircraft formed a defensive circle, but I managed to fire a burst at one, which did the usual half roll and dived. I followed him down, and at approximately 15,000 feet, he flattened out, so I closed in and let him have a 5-second burst from 300 to 50 yards range. He burst into flames and disappeared into the cloud in a vertical dive. I then climbed to approximately 25,000 feet and patrolled the coast near Beachy Head. After waiting some 5 minutes, I noticed a large force of enemy bombers being attacked by Hurricanes. They were escorted by numerous Me-110s, which circled when they noticed me. After waiting some time, I noticed 2 slightly behind the others, so I closed into 250 yards range with one and fired a burst of approximately 5 seconds. His starboard engine burst into flames and he dived steeply. As I was meeting return fire close to approximately 150 yards and let the enemy aircraft have the rest of my ammunition. The enemy aircraft went through the clouds with bits coming off the starboard wing. I followed him, and the enemy aircraft just reached the French coast and crashed in flames on the beach.
Leonard Haines is now an ace. The claims of 15th of September 1940 take him to 7 enemy aircraft destroyed, 1 probable and 1 shared. There is no let-up. 3 days later, another combat report is submitted by Leonard.
I let him have a long burst at 200 to 50 yards. Then he half-rolled and dived vertically, with black smoke pouring from his engine.
And on 19th of September, Leonard writes to his parents and Peggy,
I have now 10 Germans to my credit. 2 of them were shared, I admit, but I got 3 to myself on Sunday, so things are quite exciting. I only wish that medal would come along. London will be looking a little ragged soon, I'm thinking. Still, we'll pay the blighter back, and it won't take so very long.
It isn't long before that medal does come along. On the 8th of October 1940, Leonard is awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross, and he receives numerous congratulatory letters from close and extended family and friends. Leonard's DFC citation is simple but telling, stating, "He has shown the utmost courage, tenacity, and devotion to duty." Through the autumn, even though the intensity of the air battle lessens, the danger does not. On the 5th of November, Leonard submits a claim.
We climbed to attack, and the enemy aircraft kept diving out of the sun past me. But every time I managed to get within range of one, my windscreen would ice up, and I couldn't see a thing. I decided to attack one Me-109, which passed approximately 400 yards in front of me. At 200 yards, I gave him a short burst, and he dived to 2,000 feet. At the end of his dive, I let him have a long burst at 200 to 100 yards range, when I noticed a small stream of black coming from underneath the engine.
10 days later, Leonard watches the Me-110 he shot down
crash in the sea, and there were no survivors.
and on the 28th of November, Leonard closes in on an Me-109.
I let him have the rest of my ammunition. the enemy aircraft began issuing black smoke and glycol, which completely obscured its fuselage.
Leonard writes home.
You'll be pleased to hear I shot down another Me-109 this afternoon off the French coast. The score mounting up gradually, what?
By the end of 1940, Leonard Haines has established himself as one of Fighter Command's proven pilots. A few weeks before Christmas, he informs his parents that he has, as he puts it, met his better half at last, and arrangements are soon in place for the marriage. In April 1941, newly married Leonard Haines is no longer fighting the enemy. He is instructing, passing on his experience to the next generation of pilots at number 53 Operational Training Unit. On the last day of the month, his Miles Master spins out of control and crashes at Hounslow Barracks. Both Leonard and his passenger, Corporal Thomas Press, lose their lives. In the weeks that follow, condolence letters begin to arrive.
Dear Bertha and Archie, we were so grieved to hear the sad news of Leonard's tragic death. I heard how brilliantly he'd been flying and what wonderful things he'd done, and was living in hope that he would come through this horrible business safely. But I suppose it was not to be. We send our deepest sympathy. Affectionately yours, Will.
The abundance of letters reflect how well Leonard was loved. He was one of the Battle of Britain's finest. Leonard was buried at Hounslow Cemetery, Plot D, Row B, Grave 2. Nearby rests Thomas Press. Leonard Haines's combat record was 8 enemy aircraft destroyed, 2 probables and 4 shared destroyed, and a distinguished Flying Cross. But numbers don't tell the whole story. He was determined and keen. He had shown leadership, been calm under pressure, and displayed a relentless determination to close with the enemy again and again and again. He was just 21 when he was killed. In his letters, you can still hear the young man behind the fighter pilot. The Battle of Britain was not won by machines. It was won by individuals who climbed into their aircraft day after day, knowing each sortie could be their last. And for many it was. Today we remember Leonard Haines and the sacrifice he made. Leonard Haines's combat reports are published in Volume 2 of the Fighting High World War II Air Battle Europe book. The quotes from Leonard's letters are sourced from the Leonard Archibald Haines collection, and we are grateful to Ball State University libraries, archives and special collections for allowing us to use the quotes. Further details of the collection are in the show notes. Thank you for listening to this Fighting High Remembrance episode. We will remember them.